welcome back. So today's video is another installment of my Cozy Up To series. If you're not familiar with the series, it is essentially a roundup with different themes, and each of those themes I list out cozy mysteries associated with them. So for today's theme, I'm talking all about fictional small towns and cozy mysteries. Now, one of the key traits in a cozy mystery, at least most of the time, is that it usually takes place in a quaint small town. And so I thought it would be perfect to spotlight some of my favorite small towns in cozy mysteries, especially given the fact that we haven't been able to go anywhere. And so it's just fun to think about those places more so now than ever. So before I dive right in, as usual, please let me know in the comments once the video is over if you have read any of these books that I have listed, and if so, which ones and your thoughts about them. Also, let me know what your favorite towns in fiction books are. And it doesn't have to be necessarily cozy mysteries, it could be anything. I'm just curious to know what your preferred settings are. Okay, so first up we have the town of Sweet River, Texas, which is featured in the Ainsley McGregor series. And those of you who aren't familiar, this is essentially about a woman named Ainsley who moves to this town in Texas to open up her own artisanal market. Now, the reason that Sweet River is on my list is because the architectural detail that the author describes sounds like something that is right up my alley. She actually describes from the very first page just how charming all of the little details are, all of the stonework. I believe that the building that the main character moves into actually even has little gargoyle details, which I think is so fun. And let me see if I can actually get that for you guys. Okay, so it says here, oops, I probably should have bookmarked this. Oh, okay, here we go. I peered up at the large Gothic revival structure that had once been a mill at the end of Sweet River's main street. Look next to quaint little town and Sweet River will be listed. So yeah, they talk about all of this little details in like the stone facade. And of course, like most of the cozy mystery small towns, you've got your main square, and the author just does such a good job describing it. And her market, like I said, because it's like an artistic kind of market, it fits right into the scene. And so it seems like something that would be the perfect weekend getaway. You stay in like a small little B&B on the edge of town and you hang out at the square during the day, get some coffee, shop for some, wine and stuff. So yeah, we're starting off with this, and I would definitely like to visit this town if it existed in real life. Next up, we have the village of Storyton, which is featured in the Book Retreat Mysteries. If you guys have seen my other Cozy Up To episode where I talk about books, I may or may not have featured this one, but regardless, this one sounds right up my alley for the simple fact that it is about books. I am a sucker for books that are about books or authors or libraries or what have you, and obviously, this one makes the cut because the entire town of Storyton is centered around some kind of bookish theme. And so what that means is every single shop in the main area has some kind of punny name, again, very bookish. And so if I were to visit here, naturally I would stay at Storyton Hall, which is the main kind of luxurious B&B featured in this series. And then I would spend my days, other than reading, shopping at the different shops, just because, again, I am such a sucker for the punny names. In fact, I think there's a map in here. Let me see if I can show it to you guys. Okay, so I know that that's hard to see, but I do want to read to you some of the punny names. In addition to loving stories that have kind of bookish themes, I also am a sucker for puns. And so what we've got here, okay, so we've got Daily Bread, which obviously that is a bakery. We have Pickled Pig Market. Of course, that is after the Three Little Pigs fairy tale. And we also have, let's see, Geppetto's Toy Shop. I mean, how perfect does that sound? So yes, if you are a book lover like I am, which I'm assuming you are because you're watching this video, I'm sure you'd want to visit right along with me in this village, which just, it sounds so charming, right? Okay, so the next pick, if you guys have been around this channel for even just a little while, it's not going to come as any surprise to you because I talk all the time about my absolute love for Murder, She Wrote, but more than that, if I had my choice, I would definitely want to visit Cabot Cove, which is in Maine. ever since, even just before discovering the book series, when I would watch the show, I knew that this was a place that I wish existed because it just sounds like your quintessential New England town with your close-knit neighbors. You've got that sea breeze, and I would say that the author does a really good job translating that into page, because there are still some descriptions that are very reminiscent of the show, and I absolutely love the books that take place in Cabot Cove because, as you guys know, Jessica Fletcher will oftentimes go out of town or out of country, but yeah, when she's in Cabot Cove, I am right there alongside with her, and I would love to visit. And a fun little fact, so even though the TV show series was filmed, I believe in like Burbank or somewhere in California, it's actually modeled after a real town in Maine called Kennebunkport, which, you guys, I have looked up Airbnbs in Kennebunkport for so long, and it is on my bucket list of places to visit. There's actually like a website that you can go to where they rent out little, not Airbnbs, but little small houses, and it's called Cabot Cove, and it's like right alongside the water, and it's got this whole New England vibe. And so yeah, even though Cabot Cove isn't real, as much as I wish it were, I think the closest thing that I'm going to be able to get to is visiting Kennebunkport. So I think I'm going to have to bump that to my list so that I can visit very soon, of course, once all of this is over. But until then, I will be visiting in my head Cabot Cove. Next up, we've got another bookish theme. So this one is actually Booktown, as seen in the Booktown Mysteries. And just like the other one, the simple fact that it is a bookish themed town is why I want to visit. Again, y'all, I love anything bookish or with themes of books or writing or whatever, and this one is definitely on that list because there are a lot of bookstores in this town. In fact, the whole town is essentially centered around different kinds of bookstores, which just sounds like heaven, if I'm being honest. Of course, you've got our main character. I believe the shop that she owns is a mystery book shop. Oh gosh, I can't remember, but oh yes, okay, mystery bookstore, and it's called Haven't Got a Clue. It's been a while since I've read these, but anyway, so our main character in this one has a mystery bookshop, and so her neighbors naturally own their own different kind of genre bookshop. So you've got a cookbook shop, you've got a romance bookshop, just any kind of bookshop that you can think of is centered around in this town, which just sounds so heavenly, because I would imagine if I stayed here, I would just spend the day going from store to store looking at the different genres of books. And y'all, I don't even like cookbooks, but you can guarantee that I'd spend at least an hour in that store if there was a store dedicated solely to cookbooks. And you don't even want to know how long I'd spend in this mystery bookshop, because we both know that I love mysteries and thrillers, so I'd probably have to dedicate an entire afternoon just to visit this bookstore if it existed in real life. Alright, so last up we have the Enchanted Village. This one is actually located next to Salem, Massachusetts, but it's still a fictional town, and I would love to visit this one because of its enchanting vibes. Obviously, you can tell from the cover that it is a witchy themed, and our main character actually owns a shop called Wishcraft, in which she kind of uses her powers to not necessarily grant wishes, but to help out her customers when they're looking for stuff or when they're in need of stuff. So kind of like a magical PI slash errand girl. But regardless, I would love to visit this one because it sounds absolutely charming, and because there are lots of little magical elements all around, I think that it would be a very quaint and fun place to visit. And a lot of things that happen in the book center around like festivals or holiday markets and stuff like that, and I think it would be absolutely adorable to visit during some kind of holiday, because they seem like the kind of town that would go all out and hold like a weekend long festival, and you've got like twinkly lights and like a main square. So what I'm gathering from all of these books is that everything happens around like a literal main square. So you pull up to a main street or the main street and you've got all of your one-stop shopping and all of the sights to see. And this one is no exception. And I just imagine that when some kind of festival takes place, you've got all of the glittery, twinkly lights, and each of the stores have kind of like decorated and outfitted their windows to match the theme. And oh, guys, I've been inside for way too long because I can imagine it so vividly in my head, and it just seems so enchanting. I can't even think of a better word for it. But yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I would want to visit this. And like I said, the rest of these books I think are right up my alley in terms of fictional towns that I would love to visit because they each hold their own quaint personalities. But at the end of the day, one thing that they all have in common is that they are quaint small towns. So what you get with that are charming little shops, obviously, but you've also got friendly neighbors and an overall sense of community, which again is another reason why I love cozy mysteries, because in addition to taking place in small towns, you also have the whole sense of community and everybody looks out for each other along with that. So that's all of the recommendations that I have today. Like I said earlier, please let me know if you have read any of these or what your favorite fictional town would be, cozy mystery or not. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like it. Happy reading, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!